Good afternoon. My name is Evi Dekulu. I had the great pleasure to teach for the marketing programs of the University of Nicosia, and I also have the great pleasure to share this webinar with you today. Today we're going to talk about branding. They say that everything is branding, but everything is branding or branding is everything. And what is exactly branding, and how can we define branding, and what can be branded? For some, branding is something visual. For others, it's something purely strategic. But for all of us, I think that branding is something really inevitable, because in nowadays marketing world that actually assaults our senses without any mercy, it's actually a brand-free interaction is something really that does not exist. So, what is brand? The brand is actually the overall experience that your customers have of your company and your products. It's your name, your logo, your tone, your communication, your relationships, your look. It's actually the perception they have of your company when they interact with all possible touch points: the product, the packaging, the website, the emails, and customer services. And it's actually what makes you different from your competitors. What your customers, both existing and potential future customers, think and feel about you, and how they know what exactly to expect from you. All this is the outcome of branding efforts. And what can be branded actually? A product, a service, an event, an experience, a person, an athlete, and an artist, even an art. Yes, art can be branded. Let's have a look at the project called the Next Rembrandt. It's actually a project set out to create a painting that Rembrandt, the famous Rembrandt, might have made if he was still alive. The Next Rembrandt is a 3D printed painting made especially from data of Rembrandt's body of work. It was created by data analysts and computers with the use of learning algorithms and facial recognition techniques. So let's explore the new Rembrandt.
Well, a new painting in the style of Rembrandt has been unveiled in Amsterdam, painted nearly 4 centuries after the famous Dutch artist's death. It took over 2 years, and it does look remarkably like the real thing.
The Next Rembrandt brings back to life one of the greatest masters. Only this time, data is the painter and technology, the brush. Together with experts from various fields, over 160,000 fragments from all of Rembrandt's 346 paintings were analyzed, using 3D scans and digital files, upscaled by a deep learning algorithm. Facial recognition software was designed to understand Rembrandt's style and generate new facial features, which were assembled based on his use of geometric proportions. Finally, using a height map to mimic Rembrandt's brushstrokes, the painting was brought to life through an advanced 3D printer that printed 13 layers of paint-based ink. And so, 347 years after his death, a new Rembrandt painting made from zeros and ones emerged, unveiled and exhibited in Amsterdam. On nextrembrandt.com, people could dive deeper into the process of creating the digital painting. The launch video helped spark a global social conversation about where data and technology can take us.
Nieuwe schilderij van Rembrandt.
Impressive just from a data standpoint.
Numérique, il a pris forme à Amsterdam.
Rembrandt makes a return.
A number of organizations took a seemingly impossible task.
148 billion
It looks
pixels.
precisely like a Rembrandt portrait.
The world was buzzing, with all the leading news channels and blogs reporting about the fading boundaries between technology and humanity. Almost 100.
I highly recommend you to explore more the new Rembrandt project. A brand, so what is a brand? A brand is a name, is a term, a sign, a symbol, a design, or maybe a combination of them, with the main intention to identify the goods and services of one seller or a group of sellers, and also to differentiate them from those of competitors. So brand has actually 2 main goals. First of all, create customer awareness for your product, and then differentiation. So a brand is a product or service whose dimensions differentiate this product from other products and services, designed to satisfy the same needs. These differences may be either functional, rational, or tangible. That means related to the product's performance. We're going to use and give some examples later. But they also may be more symbolic, emotional, or intangible. That means related to what the brand represents or what the brand means in a more abstract sense. Branding is possibly the most powerful weapon for marketeers nowadays, available to all kinds of marketeers. And branding can be a really powerful means to secure a competitive advantage. Sometimes even marketeers themselves cannot realize the importance of brand loyalty until they change a crucial element of the brand. And here we need to explore the example of Coca-Cola. In 1985, Coca-Cola decided to replace its old formula with a sweeter, new variation, the new Coke. And in order to reach this decision, Coca-Cola spent something like $4 million on market research. And blind taste really showed that Coke drinkers prefer the new formula and that Coke drinkers were ready to welcome and buy this new sweeter formula. However, although researchers succeed in measuring the taste, they failed to measure the emotional attachments consumers had to Coca-Cola. And the outcome was 10 days of angry letters, formal protests, and threats. So finally, Coca-Cola was obliged to withdraw the new Coke and reintroduce the real thing, the classic Coke. Branding effects can be really pervasive. Here we need to discuss about a research conducted in order to explore the strong impact of branding on kids. And it was found out that preschoolers felt identical McDonald's food item, even carrots, milk, or apple juice, tasted better when wrapped in McDonald's familiar packaging than in unmarked wrappers. So the role of brands is really crucial for both the company and the consumers. From the part of the company, the brand can identify the maker, can offer legal protection, which is really important in nowadays competitive business environment, can create really important barriers to entry in case of eventual new competitors wishing entering the market, can serve as a really sustained source of competitive advantage. Companies offering strong brands are authorized in a way to charge premium price. And of course, brand means security of sustained future revenue, because usually a strong brand is positively associated with brand loyalty. From the part of the consumers, brand is also really important. Consumers may evaluate the identical product differently based on how this product is branded. They learn about brands through their past experience with this brand and this product and its marketing program, and they find out which brands satisfy their needs and which not. And as our lives are becoming more and more complicated, rushed, and time-starved, the brand's ability to simplify our buying decision is very important. And also, a strong brand and the fact that we are aware of the characteristic of a specific brand can also reduce the risk that is entailed in every buying decision. So from the part of the consumer, brand has a symbolic value. Brand offers and represents a product's identity and uniqueness, because brand is actually communicating the unique selling proposition. Also, brand is a promise, and we're going to explain what is brand promise and how important it is for branding. Also, brand can reduce the perceived risk. It's what we said before, that when we know that a specific brand is associated with specific characteristics, it's much easier to make the decision, and the risk is minimized because we know what to expect. Also, a brand can guarantee certain product characteristics. Why? Because for each brand, consumers make brand associations. That means that they combine the specific brand with specific characteristics, both product-related and non-product related. And finally, each brand is equal with customer expectations. For each brand, the consumer has created some expectations. So branding is a verb, okay? And it is the action of creating your brand. And all companies have a brand, whether it's good or bad, whether they have cultivated or not, because it is created naturally. Branding is actually the result of all customer interactions. Branding means endowing products and services with the power of a brand. And it's all about creating differences between products. The company needs to convince the customer that its product is superior than the rival ones. Branding creates mental structures that help consumers organize their information and knowledge about products and services. Also, branding can facilitate decision-making, and of course, branding creates value for the company. At this point, we need to distinguish between two really crucial concepts. The brand identity, that is actually the way that the company wants to be perceived by the consumers, and the brand image, the way that the consumers perceive the company. It's really important to bring these two concepts together. And how can we create a brand identity? Through brand positioning. Brand positioning aims to give a brand a unique identity in the minds of the consumers. Brand positioning actually helps consumers to locate a brand in consumers' mind in order to differentiate this brand from the rival ones. Brand positioning means key qualities and values that are synonymous with your company. It's the way that you differentiate yourself from the competitors and how consumers identify and connect with your brand. And it's comprised of fundamental qualities, fundamental values, and fundamental principles and characteristics that are synonymous with your company. Brand managers brand a product in a way so that it gets positioned in the mind of the consumers in the way they want. And brand managers differentiate their own product by highlighting the attributes they declare will match their target market's needs more effectively and more closely. Not all products are identical for all target groups. So let's visit the example of two really strong brand positioning. And we'll start with Nike. Nike highly invests on brand positioning. Nike's brand is focused on the concept of innovation for athletes to help them perform at their best every single time. So the mission of Nike, declared in its brand positioning, is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you're an athlete, and then you can just do it. On the other hand, Tesla is a luxury brand that is more expensive than the competitive products. And because of that, they focus on the quality of their cars. Tesla cars are long-range, eco-friendly, and electric, in addition to being luxury cars. Brand equity. One of the most important outcomes of branding and one of the most important aims of the company regarding branding is brand equity. The chief marketing officer of SAP said that every time you communicate with your audiences, you either build brand equity or you destroy it. So what is brand equity? Brand equity is the added value endowed on products and services. It may be reflected in the way consumers think, feel, and act with respect to a specific brand, and also in the prices, the market share, and the profitability the brand commands. Customer-based brand equity is thus the differential effect brand knowledge has on consumer response to the marketing of the brand. a brand has positive customer-based brand equity when consumers react more positively to a product, and also the way it is marketed when the brand is identified, that is, when it is known. A brand has negative customer-based brand equity if consumers react negatively or less positively to marketing activity for the brand under the same exactly conditions. For branding strategies to be successful, and so brand equity and brand value can be created for the company, consumers need to be convinced that there are meaningful differences among the competitive brands in a specific product or service category. Brand differences often relate to attribute characteristics or benefits of the product itself. It's about the tangible product that we mentioned at the beginning of the lecture. Gillette, Coca-Cola, Apple have led their product categories for many years, for decades, due in part to continuous innovation and to continuous investment on product improvement. Other brands prefer to create competitive advantages through non-related means. Gucci, Chanel, and Louis Vuitton have become category leaders by understanding consumer motivations and desires, by regularly monitoring consumers' motivations and desires, and also by creating relevant and appealing images around their products. And what are the advantages of strong brands? First of all, a strong brand means improved perceptions of product performance, at least at the minds of the consumers. Also, we also mentioned before that a strong brand is positively associated with greater loyalty, greater brand loyalty. In addition, a strong brand means less vulnerability to competitive marketing actions. So, for example, it's much easier for a strong brand to cope with an eventual price war among competitors. Also, a strong brand means less vulnerability to crisis, to eventual crisis. Also, a strong brand brings about larger profit margins for the company. And also, a strong brand means more inelastic consumer response. So we have the cases of strong brand when even if the price goes up, the demand also goes up. Okay, because mainly for ego-sensitive products, the high price expresses the uniqueness of the product. In addition, a strong brand brings about greater trade cooperation. A strong brand is highly desired by both intermediaries, retailers, suppliers. In addition, a strong brand means increased marketing communications effectiveness. We all like more the marketing activities of brands that we are positive towards them. Also, a strong brand may bring many licensing opportunities, which is a very important source of revenue for the company. And finally, a strong brand means additional brand extension opportunities, which is a very strong trend nowadays. And we're going to analyze both advantages and disadvantages of the increasing number of brand extensions that we can meet in the market. What is really important in branding is the brand promise. Every product, every service, every asset that is marketed is a promise. What promise? The promise to satisfy the needs and wants of a specific target group. So a brand promise is the marketeer's vision of what the brand must be and do for the consumers. Consumers will decide based on what they think and feel about the brand, where they believe the brand should go, and grant permission or not to any marketing action or program. So it's very important to deliver your brand promise to your customers. Virgin America, for example, has promised its customers to reinvent the entire travel experience. What is also very important is the concept of brand personality. Brand personality is the personification of a brand. Personality is a really important dimension of brand equity that we explained before, because like human personality, it is both differentiating and also enduring. You need to create a personality for your brand to make your brand being different from the rival brands. Brand personality can be defined as a set of human characteristics attributed to a brand. And brand personality directs the voice, tone, and also style through which the brand communicates with its customers. Because nowadays, contemporary brands are in regular communication with their customers. People express their own personality or an idealized one by the brands they choose. So sometimes they say that we are what we buy. Here we have some brands and we have the main characteristics corresponding to each of these brands. And let's visit the example of some brands in order to explore their brand personality. And we'll start with Nike. The personality of Nike is mainly excitement, because this is what Nike wants to communicate to its consumers. So Nike has an active lifestyle, inspirational, exciting, and cool personality. So if Nike was a person, would be an exciting, provocative, spirited, cool, innovative, aggressive, healthy, and fit person. Apple. The personality of Apple is sophistication. So Apple has a non-corporate, artistic, sophisticated, and creative personality. On the other hand, Amazon's personality is sincerity and competence. One of the world's most trusted brands, mainly nowadays, due to this corona crisis and due to the uncontrolled development of e-commerce. So it's one of the world's most trusted brands, very sincere, supported by industry-changing shipping and return policies, and also exceptional product accessibility. Amazon has a reliable, competent, sincere, and caring personality, because Amazon cares about its customers, and it actually expresses this in the services that Amazon provides for his customers. If we have a look at the list with the world's 10 most valuable brands in 2022, we see that the first brand is really Amazon, followed, and then it's Google, followed by Apple, Microsoft, and Samsung. Facebook is at the 7th place. I think that more or less this list was highly expected. Brand elements. In order to create an effective branding strategy, we need to choose our brand elements. Brand elements are devices, which can be trademark, that identify and differentiate the brand. The majority of strong brand employs multiple brand elements. Let's visit the example of Nike again. Nike has this distinctive logo, the empowering "just do it" that expresses its brand personality that we explained before, and the Nike name from the Greek winged goddess of victory. So in order for marketeers to build a branding strategy, they need to choose brand elements. And the aim is to build as much brand equity as possible. So the test is what consumers would think or feel about the product if the brand elements were all that they knew. So in order to build an effective branding strategy, we need to choose the following brand elements. We need to make a decision about the brand name, which is very important and a very crucial decision. The slogan, the character, if the brand needs to use a character, such as the so popular Macho Cowboy by Marlboro, a symbol, a logo, and of course the URL. And the URL is becoming more and more important, of course, for e-commerce when we need to tap to write the URL on internet. There are 6 criteria that marketers need to use in order to choose the brand elements. First of all, memorability. How easily consumers can recall and recognize the brand element, and when, at both purchase and consumption. So short names as Apple, Nike are really memorable and really effective brand elements. And of course, meaningfulness. Is the brand element credible? And does this brand element suggest the corresponding category and a product ingredient or the type of person who might use this brand? And of course, likability. We need to like the brand element. How aesthetically appealing is the brand element? There is a recent trend for really playful names that also offer a readily available URL. And of course, transferability. Most of companies are going global nowadays. So we need to be really sure that the brand element can introduce the product in the same or different categories. Also, the marketer needs to be sure that the brand element can be used to enter new geographical markets. Does it add to brand equity across geographic boundaries and market segments? For example, if we take the example of Amazon again. Although at the beginning Amazon was just an online book seller, Amazon does not choose the brand name, for example, Book for You. How, on the other hand, Amazon is a famous river, and so the name suggests the wide variety of products that customers can buy from Amazon nowadays. Of course, marketers need to get adaptability into consideration. How adaptable and how updatable is the brand element? And of course, protectability. How legally protectable is the brand element? And how competitively protectable is the brand element? Another weapon for branding that, thanks to internet, companies are using more and more nowadays are brand communities. So thanks to internet, companies are interested in collaborating with customers with the aim of creating value through communities that are built around the brands. And what is a brand community? A brand community is a specialized community of consumers and employees whose identification and activities focus around the brand. And we have many examples of successful brand communities. We can mention the brand community of Starbucks, My Starbucks Idea, when you can suggest ideas for new products. You can suggest ways of improving the existing product, and there are many competitions taking place. The PlayStation brand community, the Lego brand community. So if we explore all these brand communities, we actually identify 3 major characteristics. The first one is a consciousness of kind or sense of felt connection to the brand, to the company, to the product, or to the other community members. The existence of brand communities strengthen brand loyalty and also strengthen brand engagement, because nowadays brands want to get engaged with the customers. The second characteristic is a shared moral responsibility or duty to both the community as a whole and also individual community members, because the creation of these communities create this sense of belonging to the community. And of course, shared ritual, stories, and traditions that help to convey the meaning of the community and, of course, the meaning of the brand. Brand communities are increasingly strengthening the brand engagement. And it's another reason, and apart from increased sales and customer loyalty, another positive effect that increased brand engagement has nowadays for companies is the fact that nowadays consumers are becoming co-creators of the product. And it's very important. Why? Because a company is actually creating a product for its customers. So ideas generated from the customers can become really important feedback for introduction of new products. And that's why nowadays the word prosumer emerged. And it's actually a combination, prosumer emerged. It's actually a combination of the word producer and consumers. Because nowadays, loyal consumers can be producers of the products they buy and the products they use. What we also need to mention is the concept of internal branding. And what is internal branding? Internal branding is the process of building a brand from the inside out and entails activities and processes that help inform and inspire employees about the brand. Employees are considered as the internal customers, and the internal customers need to be satisfied in order to serve in the optimum way the external customers, the consumers. And Kotler says that the brand promise cannot be delivered unless everyone in the company lives the brand, unless anyone in the company believes the brand, is familiar with the brand, and also believes in the product. And how can we devise a branding strategy? A company's branding strategy that is often called branding architecture reflects the number and also the nature of both common and distinctive brand elements. And deciding how to brand new products is very critical. And a company has three main choices. First of all, it can develop new brand elements for the new product. Secondly, it can apply some of its existing brand elements. And the third option is to use a combination of new and existing brand elements. So when a company devising a branding strategy, first of all, the company can use an established brand to introduce a new product or service. And this is brand extension. And as we mentioned before, the possibility for successful brand extensions is one of the most important outcomes of a strong brand. When marketeers combine a new brand with an existing brand, then this brand extension is called sub-brand. And here we have the example of American Express. The existing brand that gives birth to a brand extension of sub-brand is called parent brand. And in case that the parent brand is already associated with multiple products through brand extension, it's called master brand. Brand extensions fall into two general categories. We can try line extension or category extension. In the case of line extension, the parent brand introduces a new product within an existing product category. And here we have the cases of new flavors, new forms, or colors of existing product. The other case of brand extension is the category extension. In this case, marketers use the parent brand with the aim of entering a new product category. And here we have the example of Honda, for example, that offers cars, motorcycles, marine engines, and snowmobiles. The brand line consists of all products, both new products and also line and category extensions that are sold under a particular brand. And the brand mix is the set of all product lines that a particular company offers. The branded variants are some brand lines that are being produced and delivered to specific retailers or specific distribution channels. And it's something that haute couture companies are implementing a lot. For example, Valentino used to design and supply different lines of jackets or different lines of suits to different departmental stores. And also we have the licensed product, one whose brand name has been licensed to other producers that actually make the product. And here we need to mention the really successful licensing program of Jeep. Of course, we said before that the increased number of licensing opportunities can bring about very important revenue for the company, and that's why it can be considered as one of the main advantages of being able to establish and maintain a strong brand. Today, branding is such a strong force that hardly anything goes unbranded, okay? And so if you assume that a company decides to brand its products or services, it must choose which brand name to use. And we have three major strategies that usually a company can implement. First of all, we have the individual or separate family brand name. Consumer packaged good companies brand different products by different names. So if a company produces a big number of different products falling under different product categories, then one blanket name is not appropriate. What is happening really often is the fact that companies often use different brand names for different quality lines within the same product class. And here we can mention the example of Inditex corporation that offers Zara, Pull&Bear, Bershka, Stradivarius, and all the popular brands that we know. The second case is the case of corporate umbrella or company brand name. Many companies, such as General Electric or Haynes, use their corporate brand as an umbrella brand across their entire range of products. In this case, the development costs are really lower. Why? Because there is no need to run a name research and there is no need to spend heavily on advertising to create recognition, because the brand awareness has already been achieved. And sales of the new product are really likely to be strong if the producer's brand name is strong. So in this case, the new product, the existing brand name is endowing its qualities, it's endowing its advantages to the new product. And of course, a corporate branding strategy can create very important intangible value for the company. And the third case is the case of the sub-brand name, okay? So sub-brands may combine two or more of the corporate brand, family brand, or individual product brand name. And here we can have the example of Kellogg's, we can have the example of Sony. Sony Vaio gained consumers' preferences from the beginning because it brought with it entailed the name Sony. So many durable goods, many high involvement good makers, such as Honda, Sony, or Hewlett-Packard, use sub-brands for their products. The company name legitimizes, and the individual name actually introduces the new product to the market. And here we need to explain the two concepts of house and brands and branded house. So we have some companies such as Procter & Gamble or Unilever that offer different brands, and this is why they're called house of brands. And we also have the branded house as the example of Virgin, where different products in different product categories or services are being offered, but through the same umbrella brand. We said before that nowadays there is a trend, there is an exploding trend from the part of the companies to introduce brand extensions. The concept, the trend of brand extensions has both advantages and disadvantages. And let's start with the advantages. We mentioned before that through brand extensions, companies can explore new sources of revenue. A very important advantage from brand extension is the improved odds of new product success. Why? Because based on the brand and based on the associations that have created for a specific brand, consumers create expectations. Consumers form expectations about a new brand on what they know about the parent brand and the extent to which they feel this information is relevant. Okay? So it's what we said before, that when Sony introduced Vaio, consumers feel really comfortable with this new product category. Why? Because they had the experience of Sony. Also, when you utilize the parent brand name, it's really easier to convince retailers to both stock and promote a brand extension. Why? Because of the anticipated increased customer demand. And something more, that the campaign for introducing the brand extension does not need to create brand awareness. Okay, you can just concentrate on the new product. Why? Because you have achieved brand awareness for the parent brand. The other important advantage is the positive feedback effect. Brand extension can provide feedback benefits. Why? Because they can help to clarify the meaning of the brand, the core values of the brand, the personality of the brand, and it can also improve consumer loyalty to the company. In addition, line extensions can renew the interest of the consumers. We said that nowadays companies, brands are in a relationship with the consumers, and every relationship needs to be refreshed. So with the introduction of line extensions and brand extensions in general, it's a very good opportunity for the company to refresh the interest of the consumers and also their relationship with the consumers. And let's go to the disadvantages. First of all, a main disadvantage is the fact that the brand name is less strongly identified with the product. So sometimes a company, sometimes a brand might run the risk to lose its more specific meaning. And this is called brand dilution. And brand dilution emerges when consumers no longer associate a specific brand with a specific set of products. And in this case, the consumer might become confused or even frustrated. Another problem is that in case a brand extension fails, this might also harm the parent brand. So even companies that have established strong brands need to pay great attention to the new brand extensions. And the other risk is what we call brand cannibalization. And what is brand cannibalization? When a brand extension is not gaining new consumers, but is actually eating the market share of other products under the same brands. So even if sales of a brand extension are high and meet the expected targets, the revenue may be coming from consumers switching to the extension from existing brand offering. Intra-brand shift in sales are not necessarily undesired because sometimes, since consumers are getting bored, so they want to change products, the products that they use, sometimes consumers might have switched to a competing brand instead of the line extension if this line extension had not been introduced. So sometimes brand cannibalization is something inevitable, but a company needs to introduce brand extensions in order to refresh consumers' interest and in order to give consumers the opportunity to change products. Okay, so we said before that the relationship with the customer is a relationship that needs to be cultivated. So even brands that have been in the helm for many years, they need to refresh the interests of the consumers. So many brand leaders of even 70 years ago remain leaders today. And we have the example of Coca-Cola, of Nivea. How? Because they are constantly striving to improve their products and services. And they constantly try to refresh through marketing activities the interest of consumers. So brand reinforcement means reinforcing brand equity. And this requires that the brand always is moving forward with new and compelling offerings, but under the same brand promise. So Nivea, one of Europe's strongest brands, has expanded from a skin cream brand to a skincare and personal care brand. How? Through carefully designed and implemented brand extensions, both line extensions and category extensions, that really reinforce the brand promise. And which is the brand promise? The promise of mild, gentle, and caring. Marketeers can reinforce brand equity by regularly conveying the brand's meaning in terms of what product it represents, what core benefits it supplies through offering this product, and what needs it satisfies, how the brand made products superior, and which strong, favorable, and unique brand associations should exist in consumers' mind. Another very interesting concept is the concept of brand revitalization. So we can realize, if we check our marketing environment, that a number of brands that have disappeared have managed to make impressive comebacks, okay? And here we have the example of Reebok, of Beatle, of Apple. So companies usually, and it's becoming a trend last years, to create the emotion of nostalgia to consumers and make them accept again brands that have been disappeared for some reason. So the first thing to do in revitalizing a brand is actually to understand what the sources of brand equity were, because you need to capitalize on these sources. Are positive associations losing their strength on uniqueness? Have negative associations become linked to the brand? And then you need to decide whether to retain the same positioning or whether you need to try a repositioning. Another really interesting branding strategy is the co-branding. In case of co-branding strategy, two or more popular brands are joining forces and are combined into a joint product or a joint marketing activity in order to utilize a specific marketing opportunity. And in this case, we actually have two cases of co-branding. First of all, it's same company co-branding, so products from within the same company are co-branded and are joining forces. We have the case of joint venture co-branding. Okay, so and here we need to mention the very successful example of Citibank Advantage, okay, a credit card that was created as a loyalty program by American Airlines. We also have the multiple sponsor co-branding, and in this case, more than two companies are joining forces and are actually forming an alliance in order to promote their products. This is very common in high-tech companies, in IT companies. And finally, we have the retail co-branding. And in this case, two retail establishments use the same location to optimize space and profits. So it's very common to have jointly owned Pizza Hut, KFC, or Taco Bell restaurants. And let's check some really successful examples of co-branding implemented in 2019. First of all, we have the co-branding between BMW and Louis Vuitton. In this case, the two brands joined forces in order to implement a marketing campaign. The car manufacturer BMW and the designer Louis Vuitton may not be the most obvious of pairings, but if you think about it, these two brands have some important things in common. So if you focus on Louis Vuitton signature luggage lines, they're both in the business of travel. And also, they are both luxury brands. And also, they are both really well-known traditional brands that are popular for high-quality craftsmanship. So BMW created a sports car model called the BMW i8, while Louis Vuitton designed an exclusive 4-piece set of luggage and bags that fit perfectly into the car's real parcel shelf. So these shared values are exactly why this co-branding campaign makes so much sense, and it was a very successful marketing campaign. The other successful example was the co-branding made by Starbucks and Spotify. Starbucks scaled up a premium coffee shop experience into a massive global brand using the music to create an ambience around its coffee. So Spotify, a music streaming platform, has powered almost 25 billion hours of listening around the world. So Starbucks and Spotify forged a really innovative co-branding partnership to build a music ecosystem. Sometimes co-branding partnerships are not just cool projects between two companies, but they may actually have practical value when the companies work together. So when Apple released the Apple Pay app, the brand effectively changed how people perform transactions, because this app allows people to store their credit or debit card data on their phone, and so they can use them without physically having the cards with them when they want to pay. Okay, so MasterCard became the first credit card company to allow its users to store their card and debit cards on Apple Pay. And let's move on to another trend, which is emotional branding. The CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi says that brands strive to become love marks nowadays. And that's why companies and brands are basing more and more their competitiveness not on tangible characteristics, but on non-product related characteristics. And this is how emotional branding emerged in the marketing world. Emotional branding is the process of forming a relationship between a consumer and a product or brand by provoking their emotions. Emotional branding means building brands that appeal directly to a consumer's emotional states, needs, and aspirations. Love marks results for a brand's ability to achieve mystery, sensuality, and intimacy. Mystery draws together stories, metaphors, dreams, and symbols. And people are naturally drawn to what they don't know. So they really love mystery. The other one is sensuality. Brands are very often try to provoke to use sensuality in order to build an emotional branding. And what is sensuality? What does sensuality means? We said before that marketing nowadays is continuously provoking our senses. And finally is intimacy. People really like something that provokes empathy, commitment, and passion. That's why, after the emergence of emotional branding, a company should monitor not only the market share compared to its rivals, but also the share of mind and the share of heart. The share of mind is actually the percentage of customers who name the competitor in responding to the statement, name the first company that comes to mind in this industry. And another very important variable is the share of heart. And it's the percentage of customers who name your competitor in response to the question, name the company from which you would prefer to buy the product. That's why brand love is emerging marketing research. and more research is conducted in order to explore the brand love created by companies. What is also very important is what we call narrative branding. So we said before that there is a tendency by contemporary companies not to base their competitiveness on functional characteristics, but on emotional characteristics, on characteristics related to the product in a more abstract sense. So marketers say that today brands are the moments and experiences shared between a user and a product. And brands are the conversations and moments that a company has with its customers. So narrative branding has emerged, and narrative branding is based on deep metaphors connected to people's memories, associations, and stories. And many companies are increasingly investing in narrative branding. Nike is one of the companies that have always excelled at narrative branding and brand storytelling. Companies believe and marketers believe that it's much easier to attract a customer and to reinforce customer engagement by telling the customer a story. So Nike is continuously designing and implementing campaigns in order to deliver its promise. And what is the promise? That everyone can become an athlete. So let's see one of the campaigns of Nike.
Greatness. It's just something we made up. Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is a gift reserved for a chosen few, for prodigies, for superstars, and the rest of us can only stand by watching. You can forget that. Greatness is not some rare DNA strand. It's not some precious thing. Greatness is no more unique to us than breathing. We're all capable of it. All of us.
By Nike. And according to this campaign, the greatest athletes aren't some natural-born superheroes, but they are humans, just like the rest of us, just you and me. And they only accepted the challenge and dared to just do it. Narrative branding is becoming more and more attractive, not only for marketeers, but also for consumers. And narrative branding is highly being used for another emerging trend that is becoming more and more important, and it will become critically important nowadays, that we need to restart our tourism activity, and this is destination branding. So, travel is one of the largest industries at global level nowadays, with several $1 trillion spent globally by travelers each year, and within that mix, destination branding is becoming an increasingly important part of the marketing strategy for locations and the businesses that serve their areas, okay? So, destination branding means creating a sense of place and telling a story about a place. And destination branding is actually a way to communicate a destination's unique identity by differentiating a destination from its competitor. Destination branding is actually the process of developing a unique identity or a unique personality for a tourist destination, as we explained the brand personality before, and communicating the same to visitors using a name, a tagline, a symbol, a design, or a combination of all this. A destination brand, much like that of a consumer product brand, can also offer customers benefits including providing potential tourists with pre-trip information that allows them to identify the unique characteristics of the specific place. Positioning the destination brand attractively, credibly, and distinctively in the tourist market by means of a clearly defined brand identity. And we have many examples, many successful examples of destination branding. So, destination brand is actually, first of all, to create and communicate the place's competitive identity, to communicate the durable essence or core characteristics of the destinations, the destination brand values, and also by creating a dynamic relationship between the destination and how this destination is perceived by potential customers and visitors. Let's enjoy together one of the successful stories of destination branding, the one created for Dubai in 2018.
How do you brand a major global city and an extraordinary real estate development, and in the process challenge the greatest tourist destinations of all time? That is where Strawberry Frog came in.
We wanted to define a strategy that reflected the real changes that were happening in the world. Technology and long-haul aircraft have made the new center of the world Dubai. This revolution in aviation technology has moved from the traditional capitals of the world into Dubai. So we wanted an idea that really captured that shift that's going on. And then we wanted to find the right typography, look, feel, imagery, digital, social, to bring that to life so that people could experience it throughout the journey to Dubai.
So after conducting innovative anthropological research with consumers from far corners of the globe, we defined a big idea. The campaign began to take life digitally to connect with millennials and millions of travelers. The hub was a dynamic digital space featuring primarily video that presented Dubai from all angles at all hours, day or night. The rich media digital experience was one of the first of its kind to maximize video content as the main form of information for people wanting to get a feel for the great destination. Great interest and awareness for the brand, we advertised in the world's most influential magazines, such as Condé Nast Traveler, Wallpaper, and Monocle. The results have been astounding. From a city on the rise to the world's foremost travel and tourism destination, today rated best in the world by the leading authorities, as well as by the volume of visitors to the city. Can the branding of a city and a real estate development achieve higher than that?
And we have many different success stories concerning destination branding, and many more are coming. So at this point, I would like to thank you for your attention. I would like to thank you for being with me in this short branding strategy and branding journey. I think there are much more to say. I would be really happy to meet you in one of the amphitheaters of the University of Nicosia, through WebEx or somewhere else. Thank you very much.